Perhaps the most dramatic example of the drop-off in travel and tourism in Egypt can be found out here at Saqqara, about 25 miles outside of Cairo. You know what's cool about this? It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. You see any tour buses? I don't. It's just me, my horse, my guide, and the first of 9 pyramids. It doesn't get any better than this. The ancient burial ground at Saqqara is the final resting place of numerous Egyptian kings and home to the oldest pyramid on the planet, the Step Pyramid.
Peter,
Zahi.
good to see you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Please, go ahead.
Zahi Hawass is one of the world's premier Egyptologists and an expert on Saqqara. So this pyramid is the oldest in Egypt.
It is the oldest pyramid in Egypt, built by a king called Zoser.
But I look at the scaffolding up there, and all the work stopped.
Completely,
When the-
July 2011.
That was
I
it?
left my job in July 2011. That is the time that all the restoration work was completely stopped.
And it hasn't started yet.
No.
When the Arab Spring demonstrations swept through Egypt in early 2011, and scenes of violence popped up on our screens back home, one of the first casualties was a steep drop-off in tourism. And Egypt has been reeling from the blow ever since. Zahi, every time I've come to Cairo, tour buses, people, camels, horses, lines to see the pyramids. Look around us this morning. Nobody here but us.
It's true. We are suffering a lot. Not only the economy, but the antiquities. We were depending completely on the tickets that tourists buy and come to visit. Therefore, we're restoring the monuments. But now, monuments are deteriorating. Treasures are going to be gone. History will be finished if tourists will not come to Egypt, because when they come and they pay tickets, we can restore this pyramid that's closed since 4 years now. No restoration, because there is no tourist.
And with no tourists, there's no money.
There is no money. But you saw Egypt is safe and beautiful. We need people to come back.
And for those travelers who do make the trip to Egypt, well, they're in for a special treat. I always tell people that the best time to go anywhere is the off-season. But right now, all of Egypt is the off-season.
It is. And you know what I tell people also? If you hear trouble in Egypt, go next day, because there is more security. And now there is no one in the sites, it's not crowded. They can go to the Great Pyramid alone. I always say to the people everywhere, these monuments do not belong to Egypt only. It belongs to everyone all over the world. And this is why we need the tourists to come back. Then we can restore the pyramid.
But if you're a smart traveler, the best time to come would be now.
It is now.
While tourism in Egypt has slowly started to inch back up, many sites are still relatively empty, including the ancient city of Luxor, sometimes called the world's greatest open-air museum. The visitor numbers throughout Egypt are staggeringly low. On a typical day a couple of years ago, at a place like the Temple at Karnak, you might have 10,000 people come to see it. On a typical day these days, it might just be 300. There's an eerie calm as you stroll alongside these towering statues without all the crowds. That same quiet can be felt along the banks of the Nile River. Of the 300 boats that normally operate on the Nile, only 30 are currently working. Look at them, tied up, boat to boat to boat. Bad news for the Egyptian economy, great news if you want to come visit. Timing, as they say, is everything. Boats on the river go back millennia. Remember Cleopatra? Today, you can take the same route she did, on board upscale riverboats. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you'd think the place was entirely empty. I mean, look at all those boats.
Yeah, I know. The boats are lined up 7 deep here at the moment.
Meet John Bolden. He's on a mission to revitalize his Nile cruise business.
This is the upper deck of the Nile Tosca, and this is the bridge. So here's our captain.
Hello,
This
Captain.
is a ship that we use on several of our programs. It's a really beautiful 5-star ship. And look at the Nile, doesn't it make you feel so fantastic to be back here in Egypt again?
It does, but I'm also looking at a lot of empty ships, too.
Yeah, that's right.
4 years ago, they were doing 100,000 bed nights a year. But those days are long gone. When you say it dropped like a stone, you went from 100,000 to what?
Well, virtually to zero. I mean, the program actually stopped, but I think there'll be a relatively quick resurgence. I'm very confident that Egypt is ready for it. They're very, very proud, and tourism is such a key part of their world and their economy. They really do come together and want, as a nation, to overcome this.
And just like nearly everyone else we spoke with, Bolding believes this is a golden moment for anyone who wants to visit Egypt.
You know, when you look back to the way we as kids were taught at school, Egypt was that magical destination, that magical place of pharaohs and tombs and gold. And so to come here is a lifelong ambition for many people. And now is the time to do it, really.
If you head down to the Cairo street markets, you can find travelers who started to take up that call, but not many Americans.
And we decided to come to Egypt because we have always wanted to visit the pyramids and all the monuments that they have here. We tried to come 3 years ago, but then the Arab Spring started. Now it's pretty calm, so let's go. It's been really, really good. Really great experience. I would absolutely encourage people to visit. For the tourism, it's a really safe place.
And then, when you factor in the current strength of the US dollar, a trip to Egypt starts to make that much more sense. Egypt is a country that lives or dies by tourism numbers. So consider these figures. In 2010, 14.5 million people visited Egypt. By 2014, that number had dropped precipitously to about 10 million. So what's the translation? Hey, if you're a smart traveler, look around. It's a buyer's market. And if you're looking for a deal, you've come to the right place.
Like, for example, a mirror. We sell last times for £100. Now we sell for £30, you know, because no customer. We sell Egyptian prices. We make cheap, like 50%, 40%, because people coming.
In addition to getting some terrific bargains,
All Egyptian bargain. All people Egyptian like bargain, you know?
you might also find a joke or two.
The customer when coming, ask me how much is that. I say, if you like bargain, 50. If you don't like bargain, 25.
Slowly but surely, and especially on the streets of Cairo, things just might be returning to business as usual. In Tahrir Square, things are back to normal. The demonstrators are gone. And the country, back to their usual frenetic self and the national Egyptian pastime of honking horns. Now, if you're going to be in Tahrir Square, but the most dangerous thing you can do is try to cross the street. I did it.